Hey, Husker fans, Sam McKewon along with Jimmy Watkins. This is the Pick Six Podcast Spring Football Position Preview, and this one is going to be a little longer because it's about the linebackers. Yes, the linebackers. Nebraska's going to play 4 of those a game. They play outside linebackers near the line of scrimmage. They technically form the front, and then they play 2 inside linebackers who are more roaming guys. In recent years, Nebraska's scheme has changed just a little. I think when Eric Chenander got here, they were kind of running a little bit of an eagle front. They were usually running kind of 3, maybe even a bear front, 3 guys in the middle, kind of right there, 3 linemen, and then kind of some linebackers on the outside. It was a little bit different than what they're doing now. Now, on many snaps, they've got 2 guys in the middle. They've got 2 outside linebackers, sort of overhangs over the tackle, 2 inside linebackers, and then what they call a nickel, which last year was JoJo Domann, kind of in that space between, the hash mark and the number. He can come in and help with the run. He can cover a pass guy. That player will be figured into our conversation here too. This group, I think, gets a pretty good grade over the last 4 years. They've been up and down, but overall, because of Domann, because of Rymer, and because of the first year with Muhammad Berry, I'd be comfortable giving this group about a B.
Yeah, and it's not just the players that have come through; it's their development stories. JoJo Domann came so far. I mean, he was not the kind of player that he was as a freshman that he was when he left this place. Granted, he got about a decade and a half to turn into that player, but that's how the COVID rules work. Luke Rymer, you grab a guy like him, turn a walk-on into a all Big Ten kind of player that says volumes about the kind of culture that's going on in the program. Nick Henrik is kind of a guy that I think everyone expects as a 4-star to be the player that he was last year, but it's still, you got to pick the right 4 stars, and that matters. Overall, I think it's kind of the same thing as with the defensive line. The run defense has been pretty good for these linebackers as of late. Still looking for the pass rush. They're still looking for the pass rush juice. They've tried to go out and find it. Darius Payne was a JUCO ad that they thought could be that guy. Caleb Tanner, highly rated recruit, they thought could be that guy. Those guys need to take the next step. Tanner sort of flirted with the transfer portal, came back. Now it's time to show what you have left. You got 1 year. 1 year as a pass rusher can change your entire future. You've put up a 10-sack year, you're getting drafted. Let's see what he can do.
That's a great point. You know, Caleb Tanner, I think if there's going to be a year, it'll be his 5th year. His first year on campus, as Husker fans remember, he didn't play a ton. He was underweight. They probably shouldn't have played him. So in theory, this is right for him. This is sort of his 5th year, senior year, and I think it's very appropriate that he came back because I think he's going to sort of bloom into a more complete player. We'll start, though, with the inside linebackers. We have a very good idea of where this is going. Luke Rymer, Nick Henrik, so long as they stay healthy, they're going to play 85 to 90% of the snaps, and they're pretty darn good. Rymer was probably their best interior blitzer, so the guy that would come on a blitz. And Henrik was very nice in the flat. He was good. He was very good in open space, making plays out on the field, good at keeping his open, that free arm open, and making plays that way or forcing plays back inside. I think those 2 guys are sort of entrenched if they can stay healthy. They've been dinged up at times. Behind them, probably Garrett Snodgrass. He's the 3rd guy. He may not be in spring, but I think you can count on Snodgrass to be pretty consistent. Then you've got Edeva Maga Clements. He's possibly an option there. And then you got a bunch of young guys. Randolph Kapai, who was hurt most of last year. Seth Malcolm, who had to grow a little bit. Makai Bayer, who I really like, but again was a little banged up. They lost Jackson Hanna. He never was able to kind of get the weight, and so the inside linebacker looks like that. Outside linebacker, outside of Domann leaving, looks pretty stacked, right? So you've got Garrett Nelson, energy guy, plays the run pretty well. It's good against the run over the on those sort of edge plays. Tanner, not great against the run, but pretty good against the pass, pretty good pass rusher. Then you've got Darius Payne. I like some of the young guys they have there. I like Blaze Gunnerson. I like the potential that he has. I think they've got some decent bodies there and can probably generate a decent pass rush. And it's worth noting, Nebraska's not as focused on sacks as they are on creating these kind of pressure situations where quarterbacks make bad throws. The real question mark is the position that Domann vacated.
Is it going to be Isaac Gifford? Is it going to be Javen Wright? Is it going to be Chris Kolarvik? Is it going to be some combination of those guys? It could be a situation where none of those guys, I'll tell you, here's a sneak peek for you, probably none of those guys can do exactly what Domann did all at once. So it's probably going to be a situation where, based on whatever down it is and the situation, there's going to be a different guy at that spot. Domann is a hard loss to, I mean, they've played 2 games without him. You saw what happened against Wisconsin.
Right.
You saw what happened against Iowa in the second half. That's a hard loss to fathom and really calculate, to put a number on, but they're going to have to try to fill that spot with a couple of different guys.
Here's what they couldn't do against that Wisconsin and Iowa. They couldn't cover the tight end. JoJo Domann was able to take that guy so often during his last 2 years at Nebraska, and when you remove that guy, all of a sudden Jake Ferguson and Sam Laporta are catching the ball in the middle of the field. Domann took that away. So one of the things they're going to have to figure out is, okay, this is a league full of great tight ends, and you know that it is. They've got to find a guy who can cover the tight end. Now, if that's Kolarvik, great. If it's Isaac Gifford, great. But you got to find somebody who can go cover a tight end. Once upon a time, Nebraska had the best in Levante Davies, probably the best tight end cover guy in the NFL. And then JoJo Domann was almost as good. So you got to find a guy who can do that. And then you have to find somebody who can play the edge in the box, right? So you've got to find a guy who can play those jet sweeps. You've got to find a guy who can come down and crash on those zone reads and crash those hard the way Domann did. I agree with you. I think they're going to have a hard time finding somebody who can make that spot. They may have to look for a transfer, or they may have to hope that Javen Wright is healthy. I think physically, Wright is the most capable in terms of his length and his size and his speed. He was a corner in high school, but he hasn't been healthy. And you can't, if you're not healthy, it's pretty hard to make that happen. So Kolarvik, who I think is probably going to move out there at least a little bit, along with being a backup at inside linebacker, Gifford and Wright, that'll be a position to watch. This is a good group, with the exception of that one big question mark. Domann was probably the best player on the football team the last 2 years, and replacing that guy won't be easy. Okay, for Jimmy Watkins, I'm Sam McKewon. Thanks for the Outside Linebackers position preview.